Imagine spending your 62nd birthday waiting for your only son, expecting a celebration, but instead he hands you a suitcase and leaves you in a nursing home. How would you feel? Betrayed? Forgotten? You see, that's exactly what happened to me. After years of giving everything to my son, I found myself alone, abandoned, and questioning everything I thought I knew about love and family. But what if I told you this story doesn't end with sorrow? What if I could show you how I turned betrayal into the most empowering moment of my life? This isn't just a story of loss, it's a story of survival, strength, and reclaiming what was taken from me. Stay with me until the end. You won't want to miss how this journey unfolds. And tell me, where are you watching from? Let's share this moment together. It was my 62nd birthday, and I thought I was going out to enjoy a nice lunch with my son. I wore my best sweater, styled my hair, and was ready for a celebratory day. But instead of cake, laughter, and the warmth of family, I was handed a suitcase, and my son left me at a nursing home. That was just the beginning of a journey I never expected. If you think betrayal can only come from strangers, think again. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. Stick around until the end and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. They say a mother's love is unconditional, patient, forgiving, and eternal. I believed that. I lived that truth through every scraped knee, every sleepless night, every school play. I was there for Brandon, my only child, but as my birthday unfolded, I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about love. The morning had started with excitement and hope. I was alone in my cozy house in Dayton, Ohio, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation. 62 years old, and still hopeful that my son would remember. It had been weeks since he called. He mentioned how work was busy and that things were strained with his wife. But I had no reason to believe that he wouldn't show up. I made pancakes, his favorite, even setting 2 plates in the hope he'd walk through the door. As the hours passed, my optimism began to fade. By noon, I realized I was alone. No phone call, no message. Just silence. Still, I couldn't let myself spiral into disappointment. I reread old messages, clinging to any connection. But it wasn't until the doorbell rang that afternoon that I allowed myself to believe it was still my son. When I opened the door, there he stood, Brandon, looking like the young boy who had once come running to me for comfort. Only now, he was a grown man. "Happy birthday, Mom," he said, holding a tiny bouquet from the grocery store. I smiled, though my heart felt a pang of disappointment. It wasn't much, but at least he had come. Or so I thought. "Get dressed," he said briskly. I made lunch reservations. I didn't question it. I simply grabbed my coat, threw on some shoes that pinched my toes but looked nice, and followed him out the door. I thought we were heading to a restaurant, maybe something special, perhaps even an apology for the silence in recent weeks. But instead of driving toward the city, Brandon took a turn I didn't expect. We pulled into a long driveway lined with golden maple trees. I looked up at the sign, Willow Pines Senior Living Facility. I froze. "Brandon, what is this?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He cleared his throat. "Mom, we need to talk. You live alone, and with your memory lapses, it's not safe." I was stunned. "Memory lapses? What are you talking about?" Brandon continued without looking at me. "I've found a great place for you, one that's safe and comfortable. You'll have activities, people your age, and no more worries." His words stung like salt in an open wound. The thought that he had planned this, on my birthday, no less, broke something inside me. He handed me a suitcase, and before I could protest, he was pulling me out of the car and leading me to the front door of the facility. Inside, it smelled sterile like antiseptic and overcooked food. I was shown to a small room with beige walls and a hard, uncomfortable bed. The nurses were kind enough, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been abandoned, forgotten. Hours passed. I sat in the room, staring at the wilted flowers Brandon had brought. I couldn't even cry. I just felt numb. It wasn't the birthday I had imagined. It wasn't the day I thought I would spend with my son. I opened the flowers slowly, as if they might offer some comfort, but the bouquet was lifeless, much like my birthday. That night, the nurses came and went. The sound of the TV blared from down the hall. I lay in my bed, feeling like an invisible old woman who no longer mattered. The silence of the room was deafening. I thought back to all the years I had spent raising Brandon, putting my own needs second, giving him everything. How had I become so invisible to him? I asked for my cell phone the next morning, only to find that Brandon had already disabled it. He had taken care of everything, including limiting my contact with the outside world. It was then that I realized this wasn't just about me needing care. It was about him taking control, erasing me from his life. But I'm not as fragile as he thought. No, I'm not, and I wouldn't stay quiet for long. I stopped eating for a couple of days, not to make a statement, but because the food here made me sick. It was tasteless, and I couldn't stomach the truth Brandon had abandoned me. They had tried to strip away my dignity, my freedom, my voice, but I wouldn't let them succeed. In the midst of my growing despair, I met Ruby, a young nurse who was filling in that day. She looked at me like I wasn't just another old woman, but someone who still had a spark. We started talking, and for the first time in days I felt heard. Ruby shared something with me, an old lottery ticket that had belonged to another resident who had passed away. It was the kind of thing I would have never expected to find in a place like this, but she handed it to me, saying, "Maybe you should try your luck. The world owes you something." I laughed at the absurdity, but curiosity got the better of me. That night, when the facility was quiet, I went to the lounge and entered the numbers online. My fingers froze when I saw the result, $2 million. I didn't scream. I didn't jump up in excitement. Instead, a chill ran through me. I had been erased. Brandon had tried to erase me. But now, I held something more powerful than he could ever take from me: freedom. I contacted Ruby, and with her help, I managed to connect with a volunteer lawyer. We set things in motion quickly. A blind trust, new financial arrangements, and the beginnings of a life I would reclaim. I was no longer the woman left in a nursing home to fade away. I was getting my life back. Within weeks, I had a new identity, a new address, and the security I had long been denied. But I didn't leave without a plan. I sent evidence of Brandon's actions to the authorities, making sure they knew exactly who he was. No one would be able to ignore what he had done. The moment I stepped out of Willow Pines, I knew I wasn't just escaping. I was taking back control. As I moved to a small house in Tennessee, I found solace in the quiet. I lived under the radar, quietly observing. But the truth always comes to light, and soon the media began catching on. Brandon's lies started to unravel. He was questioned, his business was investigated, his reputation crumbled. Brandon's downfall came when the authorities opened a federal case against him for fraud and identity theft. I had been the one he tried to erase, but in doing so, he had written the script for his own undoing. I didn't let anger consume me. Instead, I channeled that energy into something bigger. I launched a foundation to protect elderly individuals from financial exploitation, using my voice to give others the freedom I had once lost. Thank you for joining me on this journey. My story wasn't just about betrayal, but about finding the strength to rise above it. To anyone out there who feels forgotten or silenced, remember, your story isn't over. It's never too late to take control and start a new chapter. Don't let anyone erase you. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and keep fighting for the life you deserve. If you've been moved by this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world. Until next time, stay resilient and always remember, you are never meant to be forgotten.